Okay, so we're gonna start another project, another big project, and hopefully you're able to follow along pretty well with this one. One of the keys we've been working on is how we work with functions and how functions affect our program. So this program is actually going to start from a place of functions and we're going to grow it from there. Remember some of the things we've talked about with functions previously. We want our functions to kind of do one thing and just that one thing. So the project we're going to be working on is essentially building a shopping cart. And when we think about a shopping cart online, there are a few things you can do with a shopping cart. You can add things to it, you can remove things from it, you could clear the whole shopping cart. We need to be able to quit out of our program, and we want to be able to display our shopping cart so we can see what's in our shopping cart. So we're going to start from a place of first working with those functions, with those ideas, right? And then with those actions, we want to work with those actions first and foremost. So I'm going to start it. I'm gonna, here in VS Code, and I'm going to go ahead and start a new project, a whole new file here. I don't want a new folder. I want a new file, and we'll call it shopping cart cart.py. And here we are. I want to be able to clear my screen programmatically, so I'm going to start by importing OS. We've done this before and used that library before to clear our whole screen. The other thing I want to think about is all of our program is going to be working around this one shopping cart item. So let's go ahead and make that a global variable. And if you remember, global variable means that it's going to be accessible for every part of the program. Its scope is going to be the whole program, which makes sense for our shopping cart to have a global access, have a global scope. So our cart is going to be essentially a list type. And in this case, it's going to be an empty list because we don't want to start off with anything in it. Now, as I mentioned before, we're going to want to start from a place of talking about our actions and what kind of actions we want this to do. We want our shopping cart to do. So the first action we want it to be able to do is we want it to be able to add an item to the list. So let's start by defining that function. It's something really simple, just like add item. We might even want to add item like that. That's nice. So now all this has to do is add an item to the list. First, let's make sure that our screen clears before we do any work. Okay. And remember, if you're on a Windows PC at this point, you're not going to use the word clear. You're going to use, I believe, CLS. Okay. And now we want essentially to take the cart and append our item to the cart. Notice that I don't have to do anything special to get access to cart because cart once again has global access, right? It's a global variable, and item is whatever item is being passed in as a parameter, if you remember our conversation about parameters. And finally, let's just indicate to our user what has happened. Essentially, we are item was added to your shopping cart. And we stop there, right? So it's only 3 lines, but essentially we've done everything we might need to do in the add item function for now. And that's a really good chunk of a function. It does one thing, that's all it does, and we can move on. Rather than trying to write one program with lots of at least if statements, and in each if statement writing out this block of code, we can start separating right away by taking each function we want in our program and separating it out to its own individual function. So along those lines, let's go to the next, what I think is the next logical step. We're going to go ahead and remove item. Stop for a moment and think about how you might structure this program, this next function. Think about what we've done in our previous function. Think about what we've done previously in other videos and see if you can think about how might you structure this. Go ahead and pause the video and then I'm going to keep going if you want to think more about how you might structure it, or try structuring it first on your own and seeing what happens. What we're going to do is we're going to start with the OS system clear. And then we want to try and remove that item. Now, why might you want to try and remove the item? What is different from adding an item and removing an item? Why would one need try and one might not? Well, the reason is because we can always add anything to our list. But if our list doesn't contain what we're trying to remove, that's going to be a problem. So we want to make sure we try to catch that error and deal with it as we go. So we're going to do cart.remove, understanding that this might fail. And so we want to make sure that we've got a try except block here. Each time we do this, we're going to print a statement about what is happening. If we've gotten this far, we can safely say item has been removed from list, from shopping cart, right? However, if we can't do that, if an error is thrown, we want to print something that says, hold on, sorry. I'm noticing an error up here already. I used the squiggly brackets instead of a parentheses. There we go. Okay, sorry. Item not found in shopping cart. So if we can't remove the item from the cart, let's go ahead and tell the user basically, hey, we weren't actually able to find the item you wanted to remove from the cart. And those are half the functions we wanted our cart to do. What was another? We wanted our cart to be able to show all the items in the cart, okay? Show shopping cart probably doesn't need a parameter because basically we're just showing the shopping cart. So what we want to do is just print each item in the shopping cart out in a nice list. So we should say print your shopping cart contains and think about how might you structure the rest of this, right? I'm going to use this for member loop, right? For item in cart print nice F string where I'm going to do that, and I'm going to print the item. And I think that should be sufficient for displaying the cart. Oh, what if the cart is empty? Maybe we should put something in here for that. So let's say if cart do this. And then we're going to do else print your cart is empty. This should test if the cart is empty or not. We also wanted to be able to clear our shopping carts. So again, here would be a good place to pause and see if you can construct the clear function on your own. What would you have to do to clear a list? In this case, the list we call shopping cart. Luckily for us, lists have a clear method built in. I want to jump back here for a second because I forgot to do something. I forgot to first clear our terminal. Okay. So we can clear our terminal, like I forgot to do last time. And then we can use that clear method, right? Cart.clear. which is going to clear out the cart. And then we can just tell the user, hey, you emptied your cart. Now, some of this is interesting because it's going to assume that items being put into the cart can be printed out in this format. So we're really thinking about the fact that we're probably dealing with strings, but that's just something to be aware of. Okay, now we've got all of these functions separated apart, but there's nothing that ties them together. There's no logic yet that says, how would a user know how to select show or clear or add? What information are we providing for the user up front right away when we start the program? So we need one more function to kind of tie all these functions together. And we're going to call that function our main function. And that's the function we're going to call when we want to start the program running. So what are the kind of things that we want our main function to do? Well, we're going to need to keep track of some sort of done variable. And that variable is essentially going to allow our program to skip out of a loop when it's done finally running. So let's start that loop while not done. So we've got a loop now while not done. Let's go ahead and have the user select something. So user selection is going to, and actually I should stop using camel case. User selection is going to be equal to some sort of input. Now we want to prompt the user with their options, which are essentially add, remove, clear, show, and quit are the possible options for our user to use. And as we've seen before, if we want to make sure that we're not worried too much about dealing with capitalized or not capitalized, whatever the user's input is, we can just lowercase the whole thing right away. And that'll allow our next part, our elif statements, to kind of deal with themselves. Let's hold off on that for 1 second because we want to sort of deal with the base case. What happens when our user does select quit? So if user selection equal quit, what do we want to do? We basically want to say, okay, done equals true, right? We can say, we can print a statement to our user. Thank you for shopping with us. And let's go ahead and print out their cart. So we'll call the show shopping cart function so that they can see what their shopping cart has in it. And then just to make sure that we run our program, we're going to go ahead and run main. Now, this is not enough, right? This is only taking into consideration the base case of if they select quit. So now we need to call the other functions too. For instance, elif they user selection equal add. Well, if they're adding, right, we need to get some input from them. So we'll say item equals input. What would you like to add to your cart? Right? Add here should be a string. And then we can call our function add item, and pass it the item we just made using our input. And now you can kind of see how the program would get structured from here on out, hopefully. So if you want to, go ahead and pause the video again and take a shot at maybe finishing off this portion of it. with the show and clear, I don't think we have to do anything other than actually just call those functions, right? Because we actually put messages for our user in the functions themselves. Okay, there we go. And then finally, what do we do if they put something in there that we're not recognizing? Let's just go ahead and let them know, hey, sorry, that's not an option. Okay. And now we have our shopping cart program. That was actually pretty quick, wasn't it? Make sure you go through and just understand what's happening. I really just wanted you to see how could we construct something a little bit more complex and thinking from a function-based mindset. What actions need to take place? How can I build the functions to do that? And let's go ahead and run our program. Okay, so let's go ahead and add an item. I want to add boots. Okay, let me see what my cart looks like. My shopping cart contains boots. Excellent. I'm going to add another item. I want to add a shirt. Okay, I want to show my shopping cart. Now it has boots and a shirt in it. Now I would like to remove, I don't really want the boots anymore, so I'm going to take the boots out. Okay, I'm going to show my shopping cart. Only the shirt is still there. I actually don't want anything in my shopping cart anymore. My shopping cart is empty. And I'm done with the program. Perfect. Runs just like we thought it would. We may even want, when we're done with our shopping cart program here and we're doing quit, we could even add in here a os.system or I guess we have the thank you for shopping with us. So let's go ahead and let's just move the done equals true down to here. And let's move this down too. So we're doing the show shopping cart first because that's just getting buried because we do have a clear statement in the show shopping cart. And that's clearing that thank you for shopping with us. So now we'll show the shopping cart, thank you for shopping with us, and then done equals true. Perfect. And that's the shopping cart program. Okay, so keep an eye out for the next assignments. Essentially, what I'm going to be asking you to do is I want you to think about the simple hangman game we wrote, and I want you to refactor it using functions. Basically, how would we rewrite that program in this sort of way, where instead of having one long function kind of going all the way down, instead broke every piece out into individual functions. Okay? All right, good luck.